And we are live. How is everybody doing this fine day? It is me. I'm back with Gabriel Mann from Hot Shots. How you doing, Gabe?
Doing fabulous. Good to be here, bud.
Good to have you here, man. Good to have you back. Remind everybody who you are, what you've done. I call you from the movie Hot Shots, but you've done so much more. Let everybody know where they can find you, that sort of thing. Support your work.
My name is Gabriel Mann. I am a filmmaker, and I directed the feature-length documentary Hot Shot about wildland firefighters. You can find it at hotshotmovie.com. It's also on Amazon Prime and Apple.
Yeah, everybody support Gabriel's work because then we'll do a TV show with
Yep.
me and Mark actually helping people get healthy again.
Hell
Which will
yeah,
be
it's
very
that
fucking
time.
cool.
Absolutely.
It'll be like The Biggest Loser, except we'll actually be effective and not torture fat people for views. It'll be great. It'll be great. Although I did see that Jillian Michaels was at this like kind of 4 hour Senate healthcare summit, which is, I mean, kind of funny to me, but because and here's the thing, like obviously 2020 changed everything for me. So if you're for freedom, you're on my side. I got nothing, no ill will against Jillian Michaels, but anybody that was ever a part of the show, The Biggest Loser, should be very ashamed of it. Like very, very, very ashamed of it. I am known for being not a nice guy, but I like like when I coach people, like if they're already at the point where they want to be coached, like they already feel like shit. Like they've already realized like especially when they're very big, like, oh fuck, I weigh 500 pounds. I
Yeah.
fucked up. Once they feel like that, you're like, let's get it. Let's get it. Like let's fucking go. But on that show, man, like they would have people like ready to go, and they're like, I don't care if you puke. Like what? What the fuck? What? Like what? Like I mean, some weird shit. But just in hopping right into it, did you watch any of the 4 hour summit?
Yeah, I caught
Uh,
some of the highlights earlier. Yeah.
yeah, I caught some of the highlights too. Here's a couple reasons why I caught just some of the highlights instead of watched it straight through. I
Mhm.
didn't realize that motherfucker was going to be 4 hours.
Right.
Um, if you think I can sit and watch anything at all for 4 fucking hours with my ADHD, no, it's not happening. But also, and this is no shit, and I'm enjoying the clips, but it's like a reiteration of all my content from the last 6 years, and I'm very happy that it's like being brought to the forefront. But man, I wanted to go over this one particular video, and it's a little longer, so I thought we'd get to it right now, just so we can input. But this is by Casey Means, which is Callie Means' sister. And she is a doctor. I believe she's a Stanford trained doctor, but who's kind of given up her medical degree, her like practice. I guess she's still a doctor, but she's kind of given up her practice. And this is from the Vigilant Fox. I get a lot of news from them, but this is Dr. Casey Means. America is racing towards a genocidal health collapse, and she's 100% right. Just so everybody's I've been saying for many years that the wave of chronic illness, disease, and death that is coming from our poor lifestyles and the incredible push of ultra processed foods is going to be biblical in nature. Like they're unless we do something now, like unless RFK can come through with his promises and his coalition of people. And by the way, RFK, since I am wearing a Make America Healthy Again t-shirt that is from 2 years ago. That's how long me and Mark have been using that phrase. You could contact me and Mark, and we would gladly help you, seeing as how you're using our phrase. But it's we're in a very bad spot. There will be a mass die-off in like another 10, 15 years if we don't right the ship. So I'm very much hoping that RFK can, but the highlights of it are pretty interesting thing. This goes on to say that big food and big pharma are literally poisoning us. I've said that for a long time, and you won't believe how bad it is until you see the stats. This stat is new, and I did source the data on it, but 93.2% of American adults have metabolic dysfunction. That is like that's fucking tragic when you
Apocalypse.
think about it. It's very, very, very bad. Like there's not metabolic dysfunction causes almost all the chronic illnesses, cancer, type 2 diabetes, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, like all those things are metabolically related. It's very, very bad. Americans live 8 fewer years compared to people in Japan, Switzerland, and life expectancy is going down. I've always argued, like, I don't understand why we listen so diligently to public health officials in 2020 when they clearly have been fucking up for 40 years. They're either fucking up or doing it on purpose. For the last 40 years, we've become a very, very sickly people. For each additional serving of ultra-processed food eaten in a day, early mortality increases by 18%. Children eat 67% of their total daily caloric intake from ultra-processed foods. I don't even like how that was worded, because it's worded, this now makes up 67% of foods our kids are eating. It's not food, it's food products. It's food-like products, right? 82% of independently funded studies show harm from processed foods, while 93% of industry-sponsored studies reflect no harm. Here's something that I thought was pretty interesting, right? A lot of those studies are done by the FDA. Like the positive studies on that are done by the FDA and the USDA. 95% of the people who created the USDA food guidelines have significant conflicts of interest with big food or big pharma. They forgot to add big pharma. And then a bunch of pesticides, farmlands, everything like that. In this video, I found it to be rather interesting, so we're just going to go through and break it apart real quick.
The message I'm here to share and reiterate is that American health is getting destroyed. It's being destroyed because of chronic illness. And if the current trends continue, if the graphs continue in the way that they're going, at best, we're going to face profound societal instability and decreased American competitiveness. And at worst, we're going to be looking at a genocidal level health collapse in our country and the world.
That's what's happening. I mean, it's impossible to believe that. I mean, dude, like, I don't know. Where do you live at again?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville. Okay, so you live by Mark.
Oh yeah.
So, how long have you been there?
3 years now.
3 years. So, the level of fatness in the last 3 years, do you think it's gone up or down?
Oh, it's obviously up. And you know where I notice it the most is with kids. That's the craziest thing. Children it's like almost exponential with them. And one of the highlights that I did catch from this summit was RFK talking about how there's a plan to try to get to subsidize Ozempic to deal with childhood obesity, to the point where like 80% of children in this country would be supplied with Ozempic. And it's like, with that money, you could provide fresh food and a gym membership for every single American in the entire country and actually do something better for their health.
Well, there's so many layers to it. The prescribing of medications to children is evil. Like, and this is something I'm gonna like admit this for the first time, right? Like, I've been questioning my atheism lately. Like, I really have, right? And it's not because I believe in a biblical God. I've read the Bible. You're not going to get me to believe in that book. You're just not. Especially when they've left parts of it out. Like, I've read all the books, including like the Book of Enoch and a few other books that have been in the last couple hundred years excluded from the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. But I definitely believe in evil. Like, and for there to be evil, there has to be good, right? Yep. And so I'm definitely struggling with this. Now, I don't know if it's a nature thing, and I'm definitely not religious. And I don't think I need to follow some sort of set of fucking rules, or I'm going to burn in eternal hell or heaven. I don't believe that shit. So nobody try to fucking get on it. But I'm probably going to have to officially announce myself as agnostic instead of atheist, because and thank you very much, federal government, and other people like that. You have now made me believe in evil. So there's that. Like, so I find it hard as a logical, critical thinking person to believe like that there's evil, there has to be good. And I know there's good, like, because I've owned dogs, right? So like, and I'm not shitting you, like, that's why, like, I've owned, like, when you watch like a pet with an owner like that loves they love each other, you can see like it's like, it's pure goodness, you know what I mean? It's like just pure love, right? And how I feel about my wife and my family and stuff like that. So I believe in good and evil. So I gotta like kind of evolve my opinion a little bit on this. But when you look at what they're doing, sorry, ADHD side note, you heard it here first. I'm probably no longer atheist. I'm agnostic. But when you look at what they're doing with the kids, there's a huge reason for this, right? It's the same reason why they are prescribing Oxycontin to children as young as 10, right? It's not for their health. First of all, painkillers are a fucking bullshit thing anyway. Bite down on the fucking belt. You know, like, I mean, I don't understand how people like will have like some pain and then get a painkiller. Like, don't get me wrong, if you've had a very painful surgery or something like that, a short-term thing, I can almost see it. But we got people to take fucking Oxycontin every day for like back pain, knee pain, all sorts of stuff. Like, fix the main fucking issue. Maybe lose some fucking weight. But so I mean, they'll prescribe it to 10-year-olds. Like, and the Ozempic thing, they've been talking about as young as 12 already getting prescribed Ozempic. And this is a medication where they have no idea what it would do to a developing person. And here's how I know. They have no idea what the fuck it's going to do to anybody 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
And it's just, we're at a stage now where it's all pharma all the time. Like, I don't know, how old are you? You're in your 40s, right?
I'm 40.
Yeah, 40? Okay. So you remember a time when doctors were still trying to do like prescriptions were last, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
Like that was last. And now it's like the exact everything you get. I wanted to point out a few things that she's going to say, just because I found a few of this stuff really, really interesting. And then I'm going to give my thoughts on it. Now, to anybody watching that wonders, I am, the tattooed redneck meathead, blah, blah, blah. Just as a reminder, like, I'm pretty adept at reading healthcare studies and stuff like that, because I was a healthcare executive for quite a while before all the tattoos and shit like that. I left the healthcare industry literally because we weren't helping anybody. We're just managing sickness. But I'm going to continue on with this really quickly.
World. Over the last 50 years in the United States, we have seen rapidly rising rates of chronic illnesses throughout the entire body, the body and the brain: infertility, obesity, type 2 diabetes and prediabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, heart disease, stroke, autoimmune disease, migraines, mental illness, chronic pain, fatigue, congenital abnormalities, chronic liver disease, autism, and infant and maternal mortality, all going up. Americans live 8 fewer years compared to people in Japan or Switzerland, and life expectancy is going down. I took an oath to do no harm. But listen to these stats. We're not only doing harm, we're flagrantly allowing harm. While it sounds grim.
Yes. The medical industry is flagrantly allowing harm and profiting off of it. Yeah. The entire Rockefeller-based health industry needs dismantled. And I know, like, so many people be like, oh my God, you mean my medical degree would mean nothing? No, you could be a surgeon, but you shouldn't be prescribing shit for chronic illness.
Right.
Doctors are not qualified to prescribe anything around metabolic disorder. They're not qualified. They're not one single doctor that just got their education through med school is qualified to prescribe Ozempic.
Yeah.
And she's about to say why.
There is very good news. We know why all of these diseases are going up, and we know how to fix it. Every disease I mentioned is caused by or worsened by metabolic dysfunction, a word that is thrilling to hear being used around this table. Metabolic dysfunction is a fundamental distortion of our cellular biology. It stops our cells from making energy appropriately.
Right.
According to the American College of Cardiology, metabolic dysfunction now affects 93.2% of American adults. This is quite literally the cellular drain.
So literally, just by not being fucked up and having metabolic dysfunction, you're elite.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck? Dude, I've been saying this for like several months now, but like I'm 53, bro. And in my mind, I should be considered like the average 53-year-old. And everybody's like, oh no, you have the muscle, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, but the average 53-year-old should have been working out for somewhere around 35 to 42 years, somewhere like that. And if you watch your food, you progressively overload, you work hard in the gym, stay injury-free for the most part, and everything like that, like 175 to 185 pounds, at a decently lean body fat percentage is what we should expect from a 5'9", 5'10" adult 50-year-old. I believe this, right? It's kind of sad that I have to say that, but I did want to thank all you fucking fat ass bitches for making me seem elite when I should be average. So thank you very much for that shit. I appreciate it.
Training of our life force. This process is the result of 3 processes happening inside our cells: mitochondrial dysfunction, a process called oxidative stress, which is like a wildfire inside our cells, and chronic inflammation throughout the body and the gut, as we've heard about. Metabolic dysfunction is largely not a genetic issue. It's caused by toxic American ultra-processed industrial food, toxic American chemicals, toxic American medications, and our toxic sedentary indoor lifestyles. You would think that the American healthcare system and our government agencies would be clamoring to fix metabolic health and reduce American suffering and costs.
Why would you think that? Like, here's what I don't understand, and like this boils down to every industry. If they can make money off of it, why would they do something that would make it so they can't make money off of it?
This is, dude, this is the ultimate paradox with any agency. Any government agency that's assigned to fix a problem is guaranteed to never fix the problem. Because if you fix the problem, you eliminate the predicate for it existing. So why would anyone commit career suicide by actually fixing the very thing that got them the job in the first place? We're doomed.
Very well said. Very, very well said. And it's like, you know, like the healthcare industry, like there's no fiduciary incentive for them to make you well. But I'm also again gonna argue that most doctors aren't qualified to treat chronic illness.
No.
Most doctors are qualified to fix your bone if you break it, to, you know, fix a joint, like maybe read some test scores, give you, like, treat you for an acute illness,
Right.
which they didn't even do in 2020. They didn't even treat people for the acute illness. They told them to go home and call an ambulance when they couldn't breathe. Good job. But we're at a very weird spot here. But that answers her, like Miss Means, that answers your question, because like they make money from it. Like it's like Hollywood is doing a weird thing right now just because of the DEI stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
They're making movies that nobody wants to fucking watch.
Yep.
And that's even ending. That's real. We're starting to see a shift in that, because like it's all about money for these people, and it should be. I mean, it should be. That's why we should set it up where doctors don't treat metabolic disorder, because they're not, once again, qualified. And she's about to explain why in just a second or two.
But they're not. They are deafeningly silent about metabolic dysfunction and its known causes. It's not an overstatement to say that I learned virtually nothing at Stanford Medical School about the tens of thousands of scientific papers that elucidate these root causes of why American health is plummeting and how environmental factors are causing it.
Is that not fucking staggering, bro?
It's unbelievable. You know, you brought up what I think is the critical point. Doctors manage acute care, right? So if like you said, if you have a broken bone, the Western medicine is brilliant for managing acute trauma. Like, I mean, there's nobody better, right? But your actual health, all of these chronic conditions, which is like, that's the prevailing thing that's killing us, is just chronic inflammatory disorders, right? That's your personal responsibility. And there's a parallel with wildfires, right? So we rely on firefighters to save your home, but dude, that's on you. You got to clear the brush. You've got to maintain your property, because there's nothing they can do to stop that thing once it gets that close. And it's the same thing. So it's like, it comes down to personal responsibility to maintain your own health. Like you said, fitness, try to remove as much stress as possible, and eat well. What's so pernicious about the childhood obesity thing is there's no excuse for a 12-year-old to be fat, because they do not choose what they eat. You do. As a parent, you control literally every morsel of food that goes into that kid's mouth. And so to me, that's child abuse, because it's like you're setting them up to die. I mean, how is that any different from just putting bleach in their soup?
Outstanding. It's good to hear somebody else. Mark and I have said that shit for years.
Yeah.
If you have a 300-pound teenager, you're a horrible fucking parent.
100%.
Unless they're very tall and a football player, the football player is very tall. I get it, blah, blah, blah. But if your daughter is 5'3" and 250 fucking pounds in high school, you're a horrible parent, and they're probably going to end up resenting the fuck out of you, just so you know. So she's saying she went to Stanford Medical School. She like graduated at the top of her class, had never seen any of the studies about the causes of metabolic dysfunction. When 90% of our healthcare expenditure is catalyzed by metabolic dysfunction.
Right.
For instance, in medical school, I did not learn that for each additional serving of ultra-processed food we eat, early mortality increases by 18%. This now makes up 67% of the foods our kids are eating. I took 0 nutrition courses in medical school.
0 nutrition courses in medical school. That's really the one I wanted to, the area I wanted us to get to. Yeah. Zero nutrition courses in medical school. How the fuck would a doctor who takes 0 nutritional courses be in any way fucking qualified to prescribe Ozempic?
Right.
Anybody. I've been waiting for years for this. I brought this up in like 2021 when Wegovy first got approved. I was like, why are doctors like? It's the same thing. Like, why does a general MD? Why are they allowed to prescribe SSRI or serotonin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
God, my ADHD won't let me say it. Um, why? Like how? Like you went to medical school. You did not go to psychology. You're not a psychologist or psychiatrist. How are you prescribing medication for depression when you? I mean, chances are that like the food they're eating is what's causing the depression anyway, and you know nothing about that.
Right.
It's this weird thing where trust your doctor became a moniker that should never have been taken as far as it was. That don't trust your doctor. Have your doctor explain everything to you in language you understand. If they cannot explain every single fucking thing to you in language that you will understand, not the medical terminology they go with or anything like that, if they can't explain it to you in wording that you can understand, that is malpractice.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally robbing you of informed consent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just believe your doctor is a setup to ignore informed consent.
Mm-hmm.
Just completely ignore it. It is, bar none, one of the craziest statements ever. You're trusting somebody with your life, with your health. Mm-hmm. And it's just another amazing thing. Like, people don't do any research, bro. Like, I'm at the stage now where I get my own blood work done and then I decide what I need.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's what I do. I don't need a doctor for that. Fuck. The last time my doctor from when we lived in Cape Coral, the last time I had an exam, fucking he hired me to help him lose weight. You know, like,
Awesome.
He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't treat myself like shit." You know,
Mm-hmm.
like so.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the basics of it. But we've just gotten in this weird state where if for no other reason, than you were that you would vote for Trump, if we do not make America healthy again, if we don't try to make America healthy again,
mm-hmm.
get ready to see a lot of the people you know in the next 10, 15, 20 years die.
Yeah.
Like younger people, right? Like, does anybody really think that these 350-pound like women are going to live to like 45? Like, this is our average age of life expectancy is already plummeting, right? Wait till the mass culling happens from whatever we put in the little jibby jab thing, interacting with all these people's fucked up hearts because they're super fucking fat,
Mm-hmm.
and all these other people that are in a constant state of inflammation. Like she said, 93.2% metabolic dysfunction. We're not 93.2% obese.
Right.
Okay, so
right.
We are well over 50% obese. That anybody that quotes me that 42% number that was from 2018, you need to fucking get a grip. We're well over 50% obesity, and we're probably at somewhere around, if we did waist to height ratio and counted everybody's big ass fucking Homer Simpson pot bellies, we're probably somewhere around like 85% overweight. You know, somewhere in there. But that means there's still a lot of healthy weighted people that have very serious metabolic dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that, you know, people don't realize, one, how much death this is. This is millions of, this is, 1.8 million deaths a year are directly tied to metabolic dysfunction, the cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, stuff like that. But then when you also look at it, it's fucking trillions of dollars a year. And we are $36 trillion in debt.
Mm-hmm.
If we could save $3 trillion fucking dollars as American people when we're $36 trillion in debt, there should be no other fucking effort. It is the biggest bang for our buck. We save lives, save people from chronic illness and pain, and we save trillions of fucking dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and for it not to even be mentioned by our public health officials means we need to just dismantle that whole fucking system, you know?
People, it's interesting watching people wake up to something that I've been privy to for a long time. So when I got out of university, I immediately started working in the sports medicine world. So I went to a traditional Chinese medicine school, became a holistic health practitioner, and I started working for the U.S. Olympic beach volleyball team medical staff for about 3 years. And then as I got into film, you know, my first clients were all medical device companies. So I've filmed hundreds of surgeries. I've interviewed maybe 1,000 doctors. And I always say something to people that shocks them. And this is partly Hollywood's fault. We've exalted doctors, with some of these TV shows like House MD. where we sort of make them look like wizards. Like they just have these magical powers. And so that sort of inculcates that blind faith that we have in them. The thing that I always remind people is it takes more brain power to disassemble a carburetor than to disassemble a knee. There's only a few bones you got to deal with in the knee, and they're all the same. If you're a mechanic, you've got so many different model vehicles and so many different parts. Look, it's not to say that all doctors are dumb. They don't have to be smart. And that's the thing that people don't understand is like, if you can memorize football stats, you can memorize Gray's Anatomy, right? It doesn't take that much to learn fancy things like proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. And then all of a sudden you sound like some fancy pants. Right. These people don't have any clue what it takes to be healthy. They can fix acute trauma. And the irony is that the base, like the foundational base for medicine, the Hippocratic Oath, comes from Hippocrates, who was famous for saying that you must let your food be thy medicine, and thy medicine is thy food. The irony that is the foundation of medicine, and yet they learn absolutely nothing in medical school about the most important interaction in your body, which is what you eat and how your body takes it to produce life. That's telling beyond anything else. And yes, the death is going to be bad, but I mean, the costs, when everybody sort of whinges about having socialized medicine, it's not possible. We're too unhealthy. We can't ensure this. It's not possible. Well,
I point to this, like, we're probably 50% obese as a nation, right?
Yeah.
So that's let's say it's just 150 million people, right?
Yeah.
Say 25, say half of those, right? Say 50% of those people get put on to Wegovy, okay? Through insurance, right? So now we have 75 million people on a medication that is going to be billed to insurance for likely anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Okay. So if you just do $1,000 a month, you're looking at a lot of fucking money in a month. So
75 billion a month, 75 to 100 billion a month,
75 to 100 billion dollars a month. And so we're looking over $1 trillion a year added on to our healthcare expenditure, which is already at 4.5 trillion. And I know people are like, well, they'll save on heart disease. They'll save on this. No, the fuck they won't, because reality says, and I will argue this, I will debate this with anybody. Their own studies show that this shit's not that effective. They they spit out a number and everybody's like, oh, I could lose up to 15% of my body mass. Like, motherfucker, you weigh 300 pounds. You losing 45 pounds is great. But if it's going to cost you $16,000 to do so, or cost the American people $16,000 to do so. And all of their studies show after about a year and a few months, that they start to regain while on the medication, right? So these medications normally leave people still morbidly obese, and they regain, and it's normally screwed up their system. A lot of people lose a lot of muscle mass on it. Pancreatitis, like fucking 20% of the people that take these medications drop off of them because of the side effects, right? But it could be $1 trillion added on a year or more, like literally or more. Like if that was the number I took, where it's just 50% of the fat people. If they just said everybody be on it that's possibly even overweight, I mean, it could be $3 trillion a year. Like, it's a gift. And by the way, that's $3 trillion a year of American money that doesn't stay in our environment. It leaves the environment. And not a lot of people, nobody seems to understand that either. Like my wife and I, we shop local. Like we shop local farms, local businesses, local restaurants. We don't do chain just about any motherfucking thing, because the money that we make outside of our community, because all of our money is made online, we spend in our community to enrich our community, so our community can be better, right? But if you take Ozempic, that money goes to Denmark. You know, like,
well, dude, when are we going to learn that there's no magic pill? We keep running into this wall every 5 years where, oh, there's this new miracle drug. And then it turns out, after you get some longitudinal study, after you get a little bit of a longer time frame, you see, oh, this thing's actually killing everybody. And then the next thing you know, you're seeing those infomercials for lawsuits for that very thing that was a miracle drug. Like, guys, there's no magic bullet. There's never going to be. We just need to accept that reality, that we just live in this natural world that God gave us, We have everything that we need. You don't need some fancy shit. It just comes down to discipline. It really does. And it's like, there's so many benefits that chain off of that. Depression. Dude, when you're in shape and you feel good about yourself, it's amazing how quickly all those problems go away. Yeah. And so this is just like a holistic approach to health that requires a cultural shift. There's not going to be any legislation that's going to save us. There's not going to be any governmental policy that's going to do it. It comes down to communities like yours enveloping more people and inspiring more people to actually do the right shit. You know, one of the things that would always drive me crazy is when they would pretend like, oh, well, poor people are fat because good food, healthy food is too expensive. Dude, look at a double quarter pounder at McDonald's. It's like $15 for a double quarter pounder meal at McDonald's now. But you can get bananas at 7-Eleven at 24 hours a day for 50 cents a banana, right? Yeah. This comes down to choices. It's easy and cheap to eat healthy. People just don't want to because it doesn't seem as tasty as a burger and fries. This comes down to personal decision making. And it just requires a sea change and a cultural shift. And the thing you keep pointing out is, yeah, we're probably at like 55, 60% obesity. But if we're at 93% metabolic disease, what does it tell you? It tells you that it's not just the food, it's the quality of the food and where it comes from. Like, you know, we got a pig, we got chickens. I could just slonk eggs and bacon all day long. And you know what? I'm going to be fine because of where it comes from. But that cheeseburger from McDonald's that's loaded with chemicals, it's not the same animal. People need to understand that.
Absolutely. Such a good point, dude. Such a good point. Like a huge part of the problem is too, like people like the whole trust your doctor thing. And again, if you break your arm, trust your doctor. So
right.
But if you have type 2 diabetes, why the fuck are you trusting somebody like that? Like, and if you've seen an endocrinologist, they get a little bit more training. They do. I will point out that I've had two attending endocrinologists that were my clients, and neither of them had ever heard of berberine. And what I find funny about that, and if you've never heard of berberine, which by the way is one of our active ingredients in alchemy, but berberine beats metformin in almost every clinical trial for insulin sensitivity, blood glucose control. Really, if you're a woman have PCOS, berberine's better for you than metformin, and most of your doctors have never even heard of it because they're not trained on it, because they have demonized naturopathic medicine when in fact naturopathic medicine is fucking food. Like it's literally food compounds, stuff like that. And they've done a good job of doing this. And I always point back to it being Rockefeller's fault. Rockefeller basically took over the healthcare industry. He took over all the schools and all the accreditation organizations. So in order to be like, you're the medical board, that's a Rockefeller organization, right? Like we need to get rid of that. Like, because doctors are like, we need to put doctors where they're supposed to be. You're supposed to treat acute illness.
Yep.
Chronic disease should not be treated. It should be avoided or reversed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many people that have come to me and we've reversed their type 2 diabetes and they didn't know it was possible? Like their doctor never even told them it was possible to reverse type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
Like it's malpractice. It just is. And it's the entire medical industry.
Right.
But our industries in America, this just goes to show a whole list of corruption. Now, on that line, since my man makes movies and Hollywood is in the limelight with Diddy and everything like that, we are going to hop off of YouTube, the YouTube channel, Evening Rants. If you guys want to watch, go up to Rumble, and you can watch us on Evening Rants, or you can follow us at Mark Lobliner on X or at the MFing COO on X. Because I don't want to lose this channel. We've already gotten a warning on the fucking channel. Yeah. So I'm just gonna pop off of there, remove,